Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Netitanga, and welcome to Transformational Talks. We are always live every Wednesday from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, so it's only for 1 hour. Thank you so much for tuning in, and today we'll be talking about Gracious Mazivanhanga. She's someone that I knew since I think it's 2017. She's been doing good stuff, good projects, empowering the young people. So today we have an opportunity to talk to her and get to understand her journey. So she's the founder of Shining Light Foundation, which mainly deals with charity. And she's got lots of projects as well that she's doing. So yeah, stay tuned. Please feel welcome. You can ask questions as you go. And I hope you'll be inspired. Gracious, hi.
Hey Neddy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? How was your day?
That was great. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for agreeing on such a short notice. Actually, you owed me since January, if you still remember.
Yes. I missed my first interview, and this is my so I actually jumped on it the moment you said it.
Thank you so much, Gracious. Since today we are just going to be moving fast, since one of our main intentions is to end the presentation a bit early. Maybe just for our viewers and for starters, I know I shared your profile on my page. Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about yourself so that welcome my first viewer. Please feel free to ask questions and comment. So we're just starting. So Gracious, she's just going to give us a brief bio about herself. Over to you, Gracious.
Okay, okay, thank you, Neddy. So I am 23 years old, and I'm in my final year at Harare Institute of Technology, currently studying chemical and process systems engineering. Gracious. I'm involved in a lot, but my main passion is actually just, helping out. And this led me to starting my own non-profit organization called Shining Light Foundation, which deals mainly with the students as well as the youth of Zimbabwe. We work in such a way that we start projects and initiatives that target some of the areas that the students as well as the youth are facing challenges in an aim to make this world a better place for them. We work based off the sustainable development goals and any other issues that may arise in the day-to-day lives of the youth and students. And over the years, I've volunteered in several organizations. And yeah, that's just a brief background about myself.
Quite insightful, Gracious. You mentioned that you are an engineering student who's also actively involved in charity work. Can you please explain to me how did you manage to do that? Since there's always that stereotype among engineers. Engineers are mainly focused on school, they're mainly focused on books. How then did you manage to follow your passion in charity at the same time pursuing engineering degree?
Oh, well, for me, when you're passionate about something, it becomes so easy for you to fulfill it or to even do it. It's somehow feels just natural. So I am quite passionate about what I do, and I'm really in love with the work that I do. So I've been involved in since I was a young child. So then fitting in my degree to what I was doing became very easy for me. So I just try to find a balance between it all. I don't want either sides to, be affected, but I just try to find a balance. And really, there isn't like a stereotype to it. It's just following your passion, and it's just something I do.
Thank you so much for that. To our viewers, what words of encouragement would you give not necessarily for engineering students, but for anyone who's pursuing a certain professional field, but they feel like they are very passionate about a certain area. Like maybe, for example, they are passionate about creative arts or maybe charity or different movements. What are your words of encouragement to them?
I would honestly say pursue it. If you're passionate about something, do it. And you can have both. You can have something you're passionate about and you can have a career by the side. It's all about going after what makes you happy and also doing it and setting if you set goals and visions for yourself, you're able to manage and plan your things accordingly. So if you're interested in maybe your career path is totally different from some of the things that you're passionate about, I would just encourage you to pursue them. Just set out your clear visions, set out your goals and strive to achieve them all and keeping a balance in between them.
You are mentioning the word, you actually have mentioned the word passionate quite a
Mhm.
number of times. What does the word passion mean to you? When you're passionate about something, what does it mean to you as Gracious?
Um, Passion is that external driving force that you just have when you like something. It's that extra push that you have from within that drives you to do something. And especially when you like, for instance, let me use myself as an example. I'm not trained or qualified in any form to, for the work that I do. I don't have any degree in the work that I do. But for me, passion pushes me forward to be able to do what I want to do. That gives me that extra advantage and that motivates me to even work harder. So for instance, if I am as experienced as some of the people that actually are qualified, and that's just been because I push it back to my passion for it, and that has motivated me to be where I am and to do what I'm doing at the moment.
Thank you so much for that. So in short, you're saying before one pursues something, they need to be passionate about that. And you also mentioned about you should do what makes you happy, and your goals should be clear and your vision should be clear. So since today it's about you, and it's also talking about your founding journey for Shining Light Foundation, can you please take us through how you began Shining Light, which year, some of the challenges that you faced, and some of the success stories that you got from the initiatives?
Oh, okay. Um, Initially, I just used to do a lot of volunteer work with different organizations, and sometimes would just plan projects and initiatives that help the youth and the students. But we didn't have any form of registration. So now, when you're doing work, and even whether it's a non-profit work or it's a profit-related business or organization, um, what you call this identification and registration is very important because it gives accountability and it makes you very reliable when you approach certain people, whether if it's the community you're trying to help out or if you're trying to source out funding. So I used to do my work. I wasn't registered yet. Then one of my mentors encouraged me to actually go out and register. So registering, it's quite a process and it's quite demanding, to be honest. Especially when you're registering for a non-profit, it can be quite expensive. But as a youth, there are different ways you can actually establish your organization as you raise money to register it independently. For instance, if you want to start a non-profit or an association, the way I've done it so far, and I'm actually in the process of acquiring my independent registration. But at the moment, I am registered under the Zimbabwe Youth Council. So it gives you a platform whereby you actually treated as a registered organization. And there's a certificate of registration and everything that you can actually present to the different organizations you're dealing with for identification as well. So it's just a simple process whereby you take out your profile, um, your your profile. I'm forgetting some of the things, but I'll share it with Nidhi. Then she can pass it on some of the requirements. But then what you do is that you just have to register yourself for authenticity and for identification. So for me, registration was quite a process, but now we're registered as HYC, and that has helped me to be able to actually do more work, and that has helped me to even spread my work beyond just in Zimbabwe. It has allowed me to partner with different people in other countries as well. Yes.
So, what are some of the challenges that you have faced as a founder, as a young founder, actually, in your organization, that you feel that we might be having some young founders listening to this, that you feel they can benefit from those challenges and some of the solutions that you've managed to come up with?
Um, the first thing I think with any non-profit, is going one of the major challenges you face is funding, because majority of the work you do, you expect nothing in return. So what happens is that funding is quite hard for you to, do all your projects. For me, with funding, what I ended up doing is that I found ways, creative ways to actually raise money for us to be able to do different projects, whether it is through sponsorship, partnership, and even starting projects within your organization to provide a continual cash flow. For instance, if you're having a nonprofit organization, you can actually have a store within your organization whereby all the profits and process from that little business can come back to feed your organization. Some of the challenges is the registration. It's hard for you to do work with other communities because they need the registration, and there's a certain protocol you need to follow whenever you want to do a program, for instance. And registration is important because when you're now filing for paperwork, you then need to state where you're coming from, your registration number, because when you're dealing with non-profit organizations, there is a lot of, sometimes you deal with sensitive issues, so that authenticity is important. And that's also brought the third challenge: you need to be well trained, right? Like I was saying, I don't have some form of like qualifications, but what I did is that whenever there was an opportunity for me to be trained for online, for instance, if there were free courses online that dealt with the work that I was doing, I always tried to make sure that I actually took part in those trainings. Now I've got several certificates and different aspects that relate to the work that I do in my organization, and that helps you to handle yourself. Because with nonprofit organizations, you're working with the community firsthand, and it involves a lot of interaction with people. So you need to learn how to conduct yourself. How do you interact with people? Because it's all different in different areas that you go. So that training provides that push, that extra knowledge that will help you to be able to actually have successful projects as well. Another issue is proper planning and execution of projects. When you plan your projects, it's important that you've got your set objectives. Really take time to set your goals. What is your vision? What is your plan with this project that you're setting? What's your end goal? Now, when you've got that, you then can clearly work back and find ways for you to be able to reach your target. And another problem is that sometimes we try to be over ambitious, and you're like, you know what, I want to do this, I want to do this. But you need to really plan according to your budget. You need to plan according to the area that you're actually working in. So that's just some of the issues that I've faced over the years. But with experience, you find ways and solutions to tackle those issues. It needs you to be fast and to be innovative. I've learned to be really innovative when it comes to the organization. I had to think on my feet when it came to some issues and some challenges. And that has actually helped us to even grow throughout the years.
You mentioned about proper planning, setting of objectives. You spoke about being more trained. You spoke about funding, registration. As you mentioned about proper planning and setting objectives and executing a project, definitely when you're talking about that, it involves a good team. What does it mean to you to have a good team? Do you think the team that you have right now, they've contributed to your success?
Oh yes, they have. They have. Whenever you've got you're planning, for instance, let me talk referring back to having a non-profit or starting a non-profit in case there's someone that wants to do the same thing. Have a strong, solid board of directors. Initially, I had quite a large board of directors, but I had to cut them down because when in your board, you need people that share the same vision, the same passion, the same drive for what you want to do. And those people will motivate you and encourage you. And also, you need people that are also well trained and willing to learn in case they're not as qualified. That way, you've got people that help you and motivate you to do better, and they're quick to correct you when you're going astray. So I've got a solid team that have been supporting me from day one to now, and they have totally contributed to where I am today. Their ideas, their support as well. It has all been really some of the foundation to my organization.
So having a team, this definitely means that you're a team leader on your own, right? So, Gracious, what does it mean to you being a leader?
For me, being a leader is being able to work with your team. It's not always about being right at the front, but sometimes it's about, getting in line with your team and trying to progress together. Because sometimes what happens is that as a leader, as the visionary, you've got your own plans, you've got your own goals, and you've got your own qualifications, you've got your own knowledge, right? And you know what you want to do. But if you try to detect it through people, you might go somewhere by yourself and actually leave the people behind. So I've learned to be first a team player, then and to be an exemplary leader in everything that I do. So for instance, I incorporate my team in decision making. I incorporate them in planning. I incorporate them in the execution of our projects, such that they are involved from the first stages of it to the final stage when we're now seeing the results of what we're doing. And that has been my goal. It's not we have a leader in our group, but we all work together as a unit to produce the best results we can. A team of five is better than a team of one.
Very true, very true. Thank you so much for contributing that. I got a few points. It's about being a team player, decision making, planning. But my question is, how then do you manage to incorporate your team? How then do you manage to incorporate
um
your team players' goals and your goals as well? How then do you manage to balance that? Because you've got your own goals, they've got their own goals. How then do you reach a balance?
um Communication is important, and effective communication, not just communication, but effective communication. Whenever we're planning and sorting out, we really dedicate time towards it. It's something whereby we actually sit down and discuss. For instance, if I say that this year we're doing maybe a feeding project, for instance, I then give them prior time to prepare for what we're going to be talking about. Some of the projects that they want, some of the projects and initiatives that they want us to do in with regard to our goal for the year. Then now that we have got and everyone is prepared, we share our ideas together. And the moment we share our ideas, we build on each other's ideas. And then at the end of the day, collectively, we then select which ideas or whatever goals that are important. But what we try to do is try to incorporate each and everyone's goals into this whole aspect. That's when it's also important that in selecting the people you're working with, find people that have this that share the same vision as you, right? So the moment you guys share the same vision, some of those things perfectly just it aligns itself according to your vision. So for instance, if I work with people that are passionate about helping out in the community, and it with every project that they bring to me, they're targeting to help out in the community. We've got the same goal, so it's so much easier when you now then discuss, what, we need to plan this, we need to do this, we need to do this. It just becomes easier because we're sharing the same goal and the same vision for it.
Quite insightful. Thank you so much for that. Noma Gogo, welcome. Thank you so much for the comment. She commented that effective communication, so true. So since you mentioned about not only communication but effective communication, what is the meaning of effective communication? What do you mean by effective communication?
When I talk about effective communication, it's creating a platform whereby when someone speaks, we hear what the person is saying and we actually listen. It's one thing to just hear, but it's another thing to actually listen. So when someone shares their opinion, we're not quick to crush their opinion, but we actually take time to listen, to understand what they're doing. And then after that, we also portray what we feel and we actually communicate back to them what we are feeling. It's all about creating a chain of conversation, a chain of communication whereby we continually talk about those things. We try not to keep anything hidden in a way. If you're happy about something, you need to speak out. If you're not happy about something, you need to speak out, such that there are no barriers or any stones that are left unturned. We try to just have that focus. Like, just in summary, effective communication is whereby you are able to actually talk and listen to each other regarding any issue that you might be facing. Yes.
So much about that, Gracious. Quite insightful. So much about effective communication. So there's always this one issue, when it comes to organizations, especially the NGOs. I feel like most of us like the idea of being a volunteer, but we are not also in a position to accept the responsibilities that comes with it. You have mentioned earlier that you were once a volunteer, and definitely in your organization, you've got volunteers as well. So my first question is, why is it you decided to be a volunteer, and did you manage to meet the expectations that were expected of you? And what were some of the lessons that you have learned as a volunteer that have helped you to establish your organization?
Yeah, all right. Thank you for that question, Niti. With being a volunteer, the first thing you need to learn to be selfless. Because when we're talking about volunteering, we're talking about doing work with expecting nothing back in return, right? So for me, volunteering is important because it's your first stepping stone, especially if you want to learn something about something you're passionate about. You might not have the platform to get engaged in it professionally or maybe getting a job title, but there are platforms whereby, like volunteering, whereby you get to learn about something that you want to pursue in the future, and you get to learn by just volunteering yourself and being selfless, putting yourself out there to learn and expecting nothing in return. For me, volunteering gave me the foundations of how to run my organization, how to build it up to where it is. Because you then learn from people that are already in the field when you volunteer, because you get mentoring, you get exposure, you get a lot of things through volunteering. And for you to be able to volunteer, the most important thing is just being selfless, because you when you get into it, you just have to remember that you're getting nothing out of it. And because that's one of the problems a lot of people face, is that when we now decide to volunteer, you're expecting something back in return. But it's not really like that. Even if you look up the definition of volunteering, it's just giving yourself up to help and expecting nothing else in return. And it's essential and it's important in whatever field of study you are trying to pursue. I encourage you to volunteer first. And also, that's when we bring in passion again. I'm going to bring it back. It's one of those things that drives you to be able to do that work. If you don't like what you're doing, it will seem as if you're being tortured when you're doing volunteer or you're being used. But yet, it's just a stepping stone to getting to where you want to be in life.
Passion, selflessness. So to my viewers, thank you, Noma, for commenting on selflessness and passion. And Telota, welcome to the life of Gracious, the founder of Shining Light Foundation. So to those who are listening, Gracious mentioned that in order for you to learn, it doesn't matter whether you want to start an NGO, but in order for you to learn new stuff that you're actually passionate about, being a volunteer is one of the best ways that can help you to master the fundamentals of how to become a selfless person. So I mentioned earlier that there's always also that issue of having volunteers who are not performing up to your expectation as the visionary, as the founder. So I know there are a lot of people with organizations, they meet a lot of those people. How did you handle those people who want to volunteer, but at the same time, they are not committed enough to face the commitment and challenges that comes with the title of being a volunteer?
Wow. For me, it's something whereby I've learned that before selecting your volunteers or before working with someone, training is important. The first stage is training, right? Through training, you're able to, teach someone about what the work that they're trying to commit to, right? The responsibilities, the vision of the work that you're doing, their responsibilities, their role, and everything. So you get to establish that through training. And after you train someone, give them the option to do they want to still continue with this, or they now want to draw, they want to now exit from it, because it's important. Sometimes we face problems with volunteers, because it's all nice volunteering to something. It looks nice on your CV. You volunteered with this and this and this, but you need to really understand and know what you're getting yourself into, and that is provided through training. So for nonprofits, I would encourage that before you select your volunteers, or even before they agree to be volunteers, set up training platforms first. For example, when I have a project or initiative, I try to find maybe like online courses that teach people on the work that we're doing. For instance, last year we had we were advocating for human rights and children rights, right? So what I did is that with everyone wanted to volunteer, even if we went and did a project. I took people through a course first. There was a short course that we're doing that was provided by Yali, and we got to train people on what human rights are, why is it so important to advocate for them, and some of the roles and responsibilities you play when it comes to the advocacy of human rights and children rights. And through that, I was able to, by the time that we were now going out and doing outreaches, I had a team that understood what they were doing. I had a team that was actually passionate about the work they were doing. So it became easy, and it was just like flawless when it came to executing the projects, because now everyone shared the same vision and the same goals, and that was achieved through training.
Interesting. So we are going back to training. When we began this conversation, you mentioned that you also apply for some of the courses online so that you educate yourself. So bottom line, I've learned that it's also good to train your fellow partners, your co-workers, so that at least they understand what human rights are, what is charity, what are children's rights. I liked that part. I'm taking notes as well. And from the comment section, there's one from Noma Goku. She said, "Thank you. We are learning." Thank you so much, Noma, for tuning in. Moving forward, you mentioned about having a mentor, and you know that I'm very passionate about mentorship. So, can you please explain to me, what does mentorship mean to you? And to someone who is listening right now, would you encourage them to have a mentor or to continue riding solo?
Well, mentorship is very important, and mentorship helps you to grow, because through a mentor you get to learn about some things that you haven't experienced yet. And when you select your mentor, you select someone who's in that field that you're passionate about, and someone who's already excelled in the field that you're passionate about. So you're kind of looking up to someone, and you're following in their footsteps. What a mentor does is that they help you to, and they groom you and mold you into a well equipped and well trained person to face whatever challenges they might have faced when they were growing, when they were growing in their organization. Is when you are in similar fields, you are most likely to experience similar challenges, and similar obstacles. A mentor is there to provide the training, the protection. Actually, they also provide protection as well as qualifications and guidance that you might actually need for you to be able to excel in whatever that you're doing. So if I would encourage everyone to get a mentor, whether I try to have a mentor for my career, which is engineering. I try to have a mentor for my non-profit, because those people help me out to be able to find my feet in whatever that I'm doing, and they help me to be able to keep driving and keep pushing. You have like some sort of control that they help you to be able to keep going and pushing. So if you have the platform, I would encourage people to actually get mentors to help you to be able to grow yourself, to grow your brand, to grow whatever organization it is, and they'll also guide you and give you tips on some things that you need to do. Because with a mentor, there's some issues I could have struggled with, but because of the guidance of a mentor, for instance, my registration didn't even take as long as I expected it to, because I had guidance of a mentor. It was teaching me how to go about it, how to conduct yourself when you're applying for these things. And that is only through a mentor. If I had to then do everything on myself, it would have been a different story. I would have given up by now. But then a mentor is always there also to encourage you.
That was very informative. I think I'm very passionate about mentorship because I myself am also a product of different mentors who have contributed into my life, because I take mentors as road signs. They tell you there's a steep curve ahead, you're supposed to move 60 kilometers per hour. But at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you need to decide whether you want to follow that guidance or not. And thank you also for mentioning that, there are also people who protect you, and they also make the journey quite easy. And from the comment section, we've got a question directed to you from Telotel. The question goes, is how hungry should be the mentee to be able to be mentored?
Oh wow. I once learned from a conference I attended. This was um Boss Babe Summit, right? Which was done last year. I learned that as a mentee, you need to show your mentor that you're passionate about what you're doing. Because when a mentor is mentoring someone, they're giving off their free knowledge, their free time, their free resources to help you. So you need to show that you're passionate about what you're doing. So for me, when I approached my mentors, I approached them with a plan. Like my first mentor, when he came to my organization, I approached them with a project. I remember back then I wasn't even registered doing anything. I was in upper six. That's when I met my first mentor. And I told him that I wanted to have a soup kitchen throughout December, and I wanted to feed the homeless in the CBD. I came with my project proposal. Everything was planned out, everything was solid, to just show him how dedicated and serious I was about it. So I always went the extra mile to make sure that he could see that I'm passionate about what I'm doing. So you need to be passionate about just something that you're doing, because when you ask someone to be your mentor, you need to realize that you're asking for their personal time, their knowledge, their resources. So when someone is investing into someone, when a mentor is mentoring you, they're investing into you. So you need to show that the investment is not being wasted. So be solid, be well, plan your things adequately, and make sure that when you get the opportunity, you do not waste it. Don't take time to really ask about what you're doing, get knowledge, get wisdom. Try to squeeze at every fruit that you can. And that makes the mentor even more passionate about what they're doing. It becomes so much more fun for him to even mentor you or anything. So that's about it. Yeah. You just need to be very determined and very serious, because you need to realize that they're investing in you by sharing their knowledge with you.
Telotel, I hope you were answered. I was answered. So, just in brief or just in summary, what she was just trying to say is passion can take you far. So, be passionate about what you're doing. Make sure you plan. be dedicated, be serious. And you also need to value the time of the mentor and the knowledge, since they are also investing their resources on you, and do not waste their time. Thank you so much, Gracious, for that. Those are like really very strong points. So as we're about to round up, so what's the future of the shining light moving forward? Since we've finished the first quarter of the year, what are we looking forward to?
Shining light this year, we're dedicating the whole year to fighting against hunger and poverty in Africa. And we've partnered with different organizations in different countries in Africa. And we're just aiming for that same goal. So throughout this year, we're going to be doing different projects and initiatives. And later on, they might actually be in some competitions as well. We're trying to provide sustainable feeding solutions to the people in Zimbabwe. It's Shining Light. We're going to be working with Zimbabwe first. So throughout the year, we're going to be having we're going to be having food drives as well. But we're just going to be trying to feed as many people as we can, feeding one family at a time.
Interesting. I look forward to being part of this initiative. Gracious, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. This was more of a mentorship session for 36 minutes. So we're going to press a little bit of a pause on Shining Light, and I'm going to ask you at least about 3 personal questions. So Gracious,
All right, it's okay.
my first question is, what drives you? What keeps you going? I understand the journey of life just in general. It's not easy. It's not every time when you wake up you're motivated. You want to go and feed the hungry. You
Yeah.
want to feed everyone. But what keeps you going as an individual? That is my first question.
Okay. For me, the first thing is spirituality. I am a dedicated Christian. So everything I do and everything I stand for is revolving around believing in God and believing, and that has helped me to keep pushing, keep going, and also drive personal, yes, personal ambitions. I've got so much planned for myself, and I've got so much I want to achieve in my lifetime, and that keeps me going. You can't sleep for too long and not think about what you want to be doing in your life. So that's some of the things that motivated me. And I'm also trying to just be a good example to my siblings. I've got 4 little sisters and like, they're looking up to me. I'm just trying as much as possible to be an exemplary leader to them so that they may just follow in my footsteps. So those are some of the 3 things that really push me to be doing what I do, and that have motivated me to be able to reach where I am today.
I can relate to being an older sister. I'm the middle child. I've got an older sister and a younger sister. So most of the stuff that I do actually it's for the little one. It's about being a good role model to the young ones, and
Yeah.
also creating a solid foundation. They don't really have to struggle when they begin whatever initiatives that they have in mind, but it's also about starting from a certain
Yes.
level. So I can relate on
Mhm.
those grounds. Then my second personal question, since in the month of March, and partly, especially for the science people, in the month of April, we're celebrating Girls in ICT. Last month, we're celebrating women in general. We're in a generation where I feel like our generation is quite interesting. We're talking about women empowerment. There's
Yeah.
also the issue of slay queens, and stuff. There's always something. What are your words of encouragement to young women and young men who are listening to this live? Life, most of the things don't come easy to us. We have to work, we have
Mhm.
to think of ways where we can get money, how we can afford to buy
Mm.
food, to go to school. What are your words of encouragement to young women who are working so hard to make a life for themselves? But things are not working according to plan, and there's always that easy way, of getting a blesser or just getting money from somewhere, but that money which comes with what can I say, is it consequences, or which comes with strings attached to it. What are your words of
Yeah.
encouragement to those people?
Firstly, as a young woman or a young gentleman, set your goals. Set your goals and make them bold goals and bold visions, right? And get that. Now look at you now need to strive for whatever you've set. You need to understand that sometimes we're not as fortunate as other people to have everything handed to us. To get to somewhere in life, you need to put in the work. You need to work hard. You need to, to be determined to look at whatever goal that you've set to yourself and remind yourself that that's where I'm going and that's my goal. No matter what, that's what I'm striving for. And also, with the things around us, what's happening a lot is that we can feel suppressed. We can feel as if things are not aligning to the goals that were set. But keep pushing. Don't be affected by the external. A lot of us are quick to give up because things are not working out. In the same environment that we're complaining about, some people are excelling, they're striving, and they're reaching like unexplainable heights. But we also need to do the same thing. Don't let what's happening around you be the thing that holds you back from attaining your goal. Fight for it and keep going. Don't try to find the easy way out. Get down and dirty to get where you want to be, because the moment you get there can easily track back and look back and be like, wow, this is where I've come from. Be innovative in every situation. I'm always telling people that in every situation, in every hardship, there's a loophole and there's that gift for you to be able to start something for yourself. So when you're innovative, you're able to align yourself, you're able to plan and strategize on how you're going to achieve your next goals or whatever vision that you might be having. Sometimes it's not that resources are tough. Okay, things are not working out, the economy might not favor, but how can you go around it? Don't just limit yourself to what you know, but be that person that's willing to go the extra mile to be able to achieve your goals. And whether you're male or female, whatever goal you've set for yourself, I trust me, you can achieve it. You're your only, you're your weakest point. I believe that I'm my only competition, and that motivates me and that pushes me to, even strive harder. So be goal driven. Set your goals. Let me just to summarize. Set your goals. Be goal driven. Work hard and take no for an answer. Be willing to knock on those doors until those doors open for you, and be innovative. That's what we really need in this era.
So it's all about having a vision that is clear, clarity, uh, bold goals. Yeah, I'm learning. I'm learning, and also not taking no as an answer. It's an interesting one. I feel like we can talk about this one for the next hour. And you also mentioned about not um, not being a victim of peer pressure, looking at your life as an individual. You also mentioned about being your own competition. Thank you so much for those points. I liked them. Actually, I've been jotting down notes. So yeah, it's an interesting one, and I'm really enjoying. Then my last question, since I told you today, we're finishing a bit early. What are your parting words? Gracious, you've been with me for the past 43 minutes, and I've learned a lot from you. You spoke about drive, and one of the words that you've been mentioning more frequently is about passion. You need to be passionate. Despite you being an engineer, you're also, doing things that you're not even qualified for. And I also wanted to mention about, you were in SRC, doing different things, governance, charity, engineering. You're doing a very good job. I need to comment on that and keep pushing. And also thank you for sharing with us how to register an organization. And also thank you for mentioning about mentorship. It's one area that I'm really passionate about. Definitely, I was going to ask you about that question, even if you hadn't mentioned about mentors. And thank you also for mentioning about why it is important to be a volunteer why it is important to be a good leader as well, why it is important to be selfless, effective communication. I can go on and on and on and repeat your presentation. Thank you so much for your time. And actually, thank you so much this time for actually being available. At least electricity didn't betray us
Now
this
I'll be
time. And
available
at least,
again.
thank you so much. And also, you were complaining about your network, but we have survived 45 minutes of this presentation. And, you
Yeah.
were speaking, and I could hear you loud and clear. So, as we're about to close, can you just tell us your parting words? What is it that you want our viewers? Right now, I've got 3 viewers. I know it's Noma, Telo. The other viewer, can you please say hi so that at least I greet you in the comment section? And thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Over to you, Gracious.
Okay. Just in closing, I would just like to say, find your purpose early, right? And that will motivate you and that will drive you in life. Find the things you're good at and build on that, and that will be some of the things that will drive you to your success and to your next level in life. And once you do that, just work hard. Nothing comes easy. And even when you face obstacles or hurdles, jump over them and move on and keep striving for the goals that you have set for yourself. And once you're able to do that, trust me, the sky's the limit. I would have said much more, but I have to keep it short.
Thank you so much, Gracious. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our presentation from this beautiful, young, vibrant, very passionate lady, pacesetter, go-getter, engineer, Gracious Mazivanhanga. Thank you so much for tuning in. And the last words from Gracious is find your purpose early and be passionate. There's a lot as a young person that you can achieve. She was also talking about how she began her journey in charity work as early as upper six. Can you imagine? When I was in upper six, I think the only thing that I was thinking of was getting good A-level results. So thank you so much, Gracious, for sharing your journey with us. And to my lovely, lovely viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. It means so much, at least to know that at least there are 3 people who are committed to watching, commenting, and special mention to Nomam, Telo, and the other third viewer. I cannot tell, at least just say hi in the comment section. So you guys, see you next week again. Same time, same place. Every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. And this is your host, Nedi Tanga. Enjoy the rest of your night and see you again next week. Cheers. Gracious, thank you so much. I'm seeing in another
You're welcome,
episode
Nidhi.
coming soon. And you did great. Oh, it's
All right.
Marilyn Martoko. Hi, Marilyn. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's just a comment from Marilyn. And hi, lovely session. Thank you so much. Then also this is my mother-in-law, Saneli Siwe Dademoyo. She said hi. Thank you so much, Ma'am Dala, for tuning in. We've come to the end of this session. Unfortunately, I've got another session at 8. So for those who might be interested, there's a link on my page. I'm having a talk on Capital FM Talk today. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Gracious, you can feel free to leave. Thank you so much, everyone. See you
Thank you.
again next week.